Now it's time to consider the path of your feet, for crying out loud.
Welcome back to Salty Saints. My name is Hayden Holm, and tonight we are discussing something that I discovered just a couple days ago. There's a little piece of content floated on my feed, and this content, it is making the rounds, and it is making a lot of stay-at-home mothers feel more jazzed than a bunch of Europeans at Buc-ee's. All right, I'll workshop it. Okay. But first things first, we're going to start right into this video that has been making the rounds. And then I want to get your thoughts on this thing. Okay, here we go. I'm sharing my screen with the audio. This account is a lady named, this is Dorster is a name. I guess that's her handle, which is a handle, apparently. So, okay. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear that. Can you hear that? We good? All right. Great. Yeah, all right. So this is the caption here. This one goes out to all the dads. This song doesn't apply to Happy Father's Day. Here we go. Father's Day. You ask how you can help, but baby, here's the deal. Writing a list of stuff to do still leaves me behind the wheel. You always poop alone. I wondered how that feels. I like to door sit on the floor with the kids hot on my heels. Which snacks do they like today? Which kid has a game? You say you forgot your wallet. I've forgotten my whole name. You say, what's the big deal? Dude, I never get to sit if there's a one missed note, one missed call. All right. Well, we're going to stop it there. You guys kind of get the flavor of what she's going after here. So a lot of pop, a lot of jazz hands going on here. And so this is a gal whose life is terrible. Apparently, this gal has it worse than women living under Sharia law. Okay. She's out there. She's just preaching her woes to the internet. And let's see how it's being received. Okay. This is for the top comment right here. As a parent teacher, a teacher who has taught both of our children every year for 5 years said, "Are you the dad? I've never seen you before." That was a smug moment for me since he thought he was doing half of the parenting. Ooh, and then second comment, did you make sure your oil was changed in your car? Did you make sure the trash was taken out? Did you make sure the yard was maintained? Did you make sure all those heavy items were picked up and put back? Did you make sure that you went out to work and paid the bills? Did you make sure to kill that spider? Ooh, look at that. Coming in hot with a lot of those comments there, arguing the other side of this. A lot of posts in here saying, this is so true. My daughter said for Mother's Day, we let mom do the opposite of what she normally does, sit down and do some chores for her. So for dad to have an opposite day, we chose to keep him doing chores all day. Too true. Happy Father's Day, men out there. This is the coming at you live, the Salty Saints Father's Day. First of all, let's do a quick recap. We've got with us Jeff Borders, the author of the Antichrist Playbook, and Captain Moroni, shaking hell's foundations. An exposition of what made Captain Moroni one of the manliest men in the Book of Mormon. And then what I want to do is get your first reaction when you see content like this online. What was your first thought?
I laughed. I thought it's
snappy. It's got some good jokes in there. Man. It's like, hey, you get to poop alone. Hey, yeah.
Actually, that was what made me laugh because I can remember one particular time, and this is I was downstairs. My kids were really young. I don't have young kids anymore, but kids were like, "Hey, where's mom?" And I'm like, "I don't know. She's upstairs somewhere." Well, they went upstairs to ask her for something. She was in the bathroom trying to go to the bathroom, and she's like, "You could have asked your dad. You walked right past him." So I mean, those things do happen. But my wife and I sat and watched it today, and we just kind of chuckled because to us, it seemed like we've been married 23 years. That just seems like a young couple thing that don't know how to communicate with each other. That was our first, like, each side probably has some valid valid points because, it is your perspective, but
right.
there is an ability to communicate those needs and those things that you want. And I said to my wife, I go, part of the issue that I see is that when men and women are younger, they don't understand how each other communicates. So a man wants you to tell him what you want, and the woman
Look at
expects
that.
you to know what she wants. And
you're making
young
way
men
too
don't,
much sense over there.
I know. Young men
She
don't
needs to be
understand
hint
that.
dropping this whole time, and
That's
he needs to be
right.
reading her mind. Yeah.
It is an acquired skill, I would
Yeah.
say, but understanding that neither one of them communicates the same language is probably the first part. I don't know. Call me crazy.
I like that. Sam, what are your thoughts?
The notes I have for this video are "It's sad pooping alone." That is such a young parent thing. Like, eventually those
Yes.
days end. Like,
Yes.
unless you have
Right.
I don't know. Jeff, you actually have a lot of kids, don't you? You have quite
I've
a
got
few.
4. My youngest is going into high school.
What are your gaps? Are they like 2 years between them?
I've got 21, almost 19, almost 16, and almost 14.
Okay, so like 21 to
about
14.
2 to 3 year gap between.
It's really, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that many years that they're young.
Mhm.
Like the age where
Right.
like you can't go to the bathroom without them like coming in wanting to talk to you. But like my wife is very much like one of those people that's like, I want to poop in peace. I'm like one of the people that's like, I don't really care. Like there's no
You mean
boundaries
a
in the
normal
household.
person? Is that what you're
But-
saying? Your wife is
Hey, what
normal.
do you-
That's great. Yeah, we've
But-
established the baseline here.
But
Yeah.
all things aside, it really isn't that many years of your life, and then it's over. And like I'm starting to get to, I think, the point where you're at, Jeff, where it's like my son's 14 now, my daughter's 6, and it's like my kids are getting to the age where it's like it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like they're not young anymore, and like all these things
Mhm.
that like maybe at one time were offensive to me or like I cared about are no longer. It's like now I'm kind of sad. Like I kind of want them to be young again. But
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
are you
100%.
saying that every day maybe isn't Father's Day in your house? Is that what you're saying?
every day is Father's Day. That's what my wife tells me all the time. She says, it's not Father's Day weekend, it's Father's Day year, and then it's Mother's Day weekend.
Right.
But
Right.
I
And I don't know.
I
if
live by
this
that
is true
mantra
for
as
you,
well.
If this is true for you, Sam, but like as we have gotten older and as our kids have gotten older and as my wife started working, duties changed and things changed in the home, and we adapted. And now I cook almost every meal in the home, and my wife doesn't. She's like, I don't even know what to do with that.
Right.
Just the workload shifts as you get older, and sometimes when you're in the heat of things and that young parenting, it's really hard to see that will probably adapt and shift as you get older.
Right. And there are people out there that are trained. They have the foresight, they have the knowledge, they have all the tools and the wisdom to pass on to the younger generations
The
in the
gray
form
hairs.
of therapy to say, hey, don't worry, this is a phase. This will eventually pass, and maybe things will work out according to your own unique situation and your custom circumstances and your idiosyncrasies and all of that. So let us consult the therapists and see what they're saying these days. All right,
Yes.
so let me share my screen again. This one came from one of the top. So now one of the things I noticed, the argument that was beneath the very foundation of that video, while the lady, she is like hip checking in the hallway and she's going the oohs and the ahs. Notice that she had time to film. Anyway, the main question is, where was her husband that whole time? Answer: at work. Okay. Hey,
Absent.
add that to the scoreboard there. Hey, it was probably
Hey,
at work.
I realized from this what I'm doing wrong in growing my Instagram audience. I need to be dancing more.
Yes.
It's
Yeah, you
ugly,
need a
but
lot
maybe it
more
works.
dancing.
I don't know. More
Yeah,
dancing.
you need AI lyrics. You need to be dancing, and you need to just be complaining about your spouse in a very nice modern house that your spouse is
That's
paying
right.
for. You need to be trashing that person online. Okay, so this is coming to us straight from Dr. Julie de Azevedo. All right, so Julie has some words of wisdom to give to those of us who are in that phase of parenting where the red mist is descending. It's going crazy. It's basically like Charlie in the jungle. You got bullets whizzing past. You got kids running around. There's goldfish. There's fruit snacks. There's appointments. There's visits. There's doctor's appointments and all of that. And at the end of the day, mom and dad are getting a little frazzed. You know, they're like, oh, how do we handle this? So this is Julie coming out speaking to them. She's saying, invisible labor, valuing the unseen contributions of women. Okay, let's see what Dr. Azevedo has to say about how we strengthen our relationship here between a man and the woman trying to make it work. She leads with a story. Several months ago, a family I'll do my best Julie Hanks here. Several months ago, trying to get the Botox just right, but it's hard. I'll have to get some fillers in.
That's right.
Several months ago.
On.
Yeah. Several months ago, got my post-menopause voice. Several months ago, a family member recounted a small but powerful scenario that happened in her sacrament meeting. While conducting the meeting, the bishop acknowledged that one of his counselors was not present on the stand. His counselor's wife was ill, and he was in the pews with his children. Interestingly, not expected to perform the bulk of the invisible labor required for maintaining relationships. Wait. Interestingly, not once was the man's spouse acknowledged for sitting alone with her children that week, with her children week after week while her husband sat on the stand. Why? Because women are expected to perform the bulk of invisible labor required for maintaining a relationship. So you see that? Did you see what happened there? She's like, Bishop gets up. He's like, he's got the conducting sheet in front of him. He's like, okay, we are going to excuse my counselor. His wife is ill, and so he's watching the children. Julie's getting upset back there. She's going, oh, well, what? Why doesn't that mother who has to show up and watch those kids every single week, why isn't she getting recognition from the pulpit? You brethren, you've been around in wards for quite a while. What is your take on that story before we keep digging into this article? To me, it seems like she misunderstands what's going on at a local clergy level. But Jeff, tell me what you're thinking.
If I would have heard that, I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. I would have thought it was just the bishopric excusing whoever wasn't sitting on the stand who was supposed to be there. But you know what? Maybe I don't think deep enough for these things. I'm a pretty simple guy.
You mean maybe the bishop wasn't trying to blast toxic masculinity from the pulpit? Maybe he had a different aim.
He clearly was.
Yeah. So the thing is, there's a formality here. If the ward sees that one of the members of the bishopric is missing, typically the formality is that whoever is conducting will tell everyone in the congregation, we'd like to excuse so-and-so from the stand. Sometimes they give a reason, sometimes they don't. That's okay. But they just acknowledge it. And so that's what this bishop was doing. He was doing a formality. It had nothing to do with acknowledging that this man was now taking over the invisible labor and that he was giving praise for that labor. It was a formality. Okay, so this entire article has been constructed around that misunderstanding. This is from our top therapeutic minds, people. What is invisible labor? This expected and often overlooked invisible work consists of emotional labor and mental labor. Emotional labor is the management of your expression of feelings to fit the situation, even if you are feeling differently on the inside. For example, responding empathetically and patiently to an overly emotional child when you're exhausted, or pretending to be interested and emotionally engaged when an aging parent is repeating a story you've heard 100 times. So that's invisible labor. It's emotionally taxing. It's mentally taxing. It's very, very tough. Okay. It goes on. It talks about seeing the invisible labor, and it's talking about acknowledging that. Okay. So it says the belief that all women are naturally nurturing and find fulfillment in performing emotional and mental labor can perpetuate its devaluation. If we think that the invisible labor that maintains relationships just flows effortlessly from women, or that women are just better at these things than men are, we run the risk of overlooking and undervaluing invisible work of women in families, home, church, work, and communities because we assume they want to be doing this work. Women do the lion's share of invisible labor because society expects it, even for the many women who do find deep fulfillment in modifying their own emotions to fit a social situation, anticipating another's needs, and providing emotional support and comfort. Invisible labor is still work, hard work. It's exhausting, and it's often thankless. Okay, so I've just schooled you guys on invisible labor. You guys can now take this certification. You can walk it around.
Mhm.
You can tell people what invisible labor is. But here is a really interesting tidbit while I was scanning through this article that reads a little bit more like Ashton Kutcher fan fiction, you know, like 7th grade angsty teen that's just like, oh, I hate my parents and I hate my mom and school was rough. And there's a little piece in here that she overlooked. All right. It says men perform unpaid invisible work in families, churches, and communities too. However, women perform the bulk of unpaid work throughout the world that enables societies to function. One might think that an exception to this would be families in which both parents work outside the home. However, working mothers continue to do significantly more invisible family work, childcare, and household chores than their spouse. Okay, so that is the argument. So she is saying that working mothers are doing a lot more work than their working father counterpart. When you hear that, what do you think?
That might be the case for her, like from her experience. I feel like a lot of the advice that she gives, there's a string of like her own like life experience that she's importing into the advice that she's giving, and or anecdotal from what she's heard from like her clients or something, which is kind of interesting because it's kind of a unique case. Like if somebody's going to her as a counselor, it's probably because they have some issues like this that they're trying to deal with. So she's uniquely hearing just like a certain perspective. Probably, I mean, if you had to take a guess, like probably over 90% of her clients are probably women. Is that fair to say? Or
that is incredibly fair to say. Yes.
Yeah. So like she's probably perceiving women that are having this issue, I would assume. But yeah, I mean, like we've said it multiple times on the show, like no one, like I don't know anybody. I guess that's not true. I guess I'll speak for myself. I don't like going to work. Like I don't enjoy going to work. I wish I could stay home. I wouldn't consider invisible labor. I've told my wife millions of times, like, hey, it's a lot. What you're doing, I think, is a lot harder. Unfortunately, we both can't do it at the same time because I actually do have to be at work. And like it just is what it is. But like I always try to tell her, like, and she does, you see it below. She has like a list of things that you can like tell your wife or whatever. Think that some of those are actually they're pretty valid, like good things to do.
So this was a conglomerate of a bunch of different things, ways that you can help. And
that is a long list, by the way. That is a very long
46, 45.
Gosh.
And it ends with worrying about the biological clock ticking.
Oh gosh.
Not sure where. So seeing, valuing, and doing emotional labor. Okay. So I don't know how they got there. I'm still trying to find Waldo in that little picture there. But this is the study that she actually linked out to from her article. This is Pew Research. All right. It says raising kids and running a household, how working parents share the load. So I, just like you guys, I read that and I was like, oh, dang, maybe she has a point. Maybe men aren't doing as much. Maybe Christmas means a little bit more, to quote the Grinch. Maybe she has a point. And so I looked at this. All right. Okay. This is from 2015. The survey, it's conducted September 15th among 1,800 U.S. parents with children younger than 18. So there were a few findings. And in these findings, if you kind of dig into this survey, there are some things that she left out. In households where the father works full-time and the mother works part-time or not at all, the distribution of labor when it comes to childcare and housekeeping is less balanced. These moms take on more of the responsibility for parenting tasks and household chores than those who work full time. So wait a second here.
Weird. That's super weird.
Hold on. This is starting to make sense. So
Hold on a second.
To me, so let me go back to this article. Maybe I'm misquoting here. How working mothers continue to do significantly more invisible family work. It's saying here, okay, in households where the fathers work full-time and the mothers work part-time, and she was claiming that this is working mothers, all right? So if the mother is working part-time and the father is working full-time, the mom is doing more of the household work. If the father's working full-time and the mother is not working, she is doing a majority of the household work. So I'm sitting back thinking, wait a second, I'm seeing 2. I'm seeing another 2 over here, and it's equaling 4. Where she was pointing at it equaling 3. She was saying, nah, the men, they're not doing as much. I'm seeing over here in the second paragraph down, crying out loud. It's like, yeah, no, the men are pulling their fair share. It's like, it looks like couples are actually figuring this out. It's like, okay, whoever is at home more is doing more of the at-home work. So that's what it is actually pointing to, which is really interesting. Like, Jeff, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I feel like here's where we insert the Inigo Montoya scene where he's like, you keep saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. You know,
I don't think it means what you think it means. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So when she says invisible labor and unacknowledged and blah, 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 she's actually just talking about couples that are figuring out their own working relationships together. And so when she cites the study claiming that working mothers continue to do significantly more invisible family work, it's like, wait a second, that's true. The spin on that, though, is like, wait, but you didn't consider the other side. It's like, well, the husband is working full time in that scenario. So if the husband is working part time or not at all, and the wife is still doing a bulk, well, then you have a problem. Then you have a case. But if the husband is working full time, well, hold on a second. Further down in this data. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, did they take into account the economy right now, where we always hear that you can't make it on one income? Are these dads that are full-time plus? Are they working 2 jobs? Are they working more than 40 hours a week to make sure to make up for that you can't live outside the 2 income? I mean, I feel like there's other variables that probably go into place here.
Well, it's a Pew Research poll. I'm assuming that there are people that are able to take time to take a
right
to take a poll. So
yeah,
that's true.
No, but no, that's a fair like question, because what is full time? Is that full time plus?
Right.
Is that just full time? Yeah, I think that's pretty valid. Yeah, that would be a good question to ask, or like look through the research and see how they did it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really interesting, but to me, this represents another case of a licensed professional going out there and kind of spewing a bunch of silly things online and other people just kind of taking her word for it. So I personally know a handful. I know we love anecdotal data. I know, like, Julie Hanks lives off of anecdotal data. I know people that have been repeating her sayings for years, saying like, oh, the invisible labor, my husband doesn't do enough, he's a bum, he's a no good, dirty, rotten, he's a ne'er-do-well, if only he did more at home. But the mom is like full-time stay-at-home mother. She just hates her life. She's just completely checked out. She's like, I don't want to do this is rough, I don't like it. And every couple goes through that phase. When you have kids, everyone gets hit with the reality, right in the kisser. It hits you right in the teeth, like, oh man, this is hard, I don't like this. Yeah. And then they start realizing, okay, maybe I've got to change my attitude. Maybe there are some things that I can change in order to make this a little bit easier. But when it comes to partly answer some of your question there, when it says the division of labor between mothers and fathers is even more, when it comes to disciplining and planning, no, down here. Okay. There are, down here, it talks about how the majority of income is actually shouldered by the husbands. So most couples will say, and I believe it was around like 60% of couples say that the husband is bringing home more more than half of their monthly income. So even if the wife is working full time, the husband is still providing more. So I mean, I'm looking at all of these data points here, and I'm looking at things like this, every day is Father's Day, but I'm seeing that there's not anything on the other side being shouted like, "Hey, you have clothes in a house and electricity and running water. It's got to be kind of nice, huh? Yeah." So let me know what your thoughts are as you hear all of this rambling from a licensed therapist, Dr. Julie Hanks, getting eaten up by a bunch of moms that are then using that just like a bunch of Germans in a with a machine gun in a pit, just going, "You're not doing enough at home. I'm miserable." What are your thoughts on that? What is your advice to those couples? Where and chat, get in on this advice. If you see a wife sitting at home and complaining to her husband, saying you're not doing enough, even though he's out there, he's trying to make ends meet, he's working full-time hours, bringing home a majority of the income there, maybe 100%, and the wife is just complaining about him all day. Go ahead, Jeff.
I guess go back to communication. Communicate what you actually need, what you want. Say what you mean what you say, and communicate what you want. And you may realize that, there needs to be some work in communication. I would assume, like you said, this data is probably skewed because the people that are going to the therapist are telling this, and there are probably plenty of people who aren't in this situation. And there's probably plenty of people who are in this situation where guys are just complete doofuses. But there's also the opposite where women aren't doing anything. Like it's not a monolith. Like, people have a ton of different experiences. What we go off of is what we're taught in the church as a role as a husband to provide, protect, and we take that duty seriously. And we need to, again, communicate those needs to each other.
Right.
You get better at that as you get older, and that's all I can say is, like, as we've been married for 23 years, we've learned how to communicate better. That doesn't mean we always see eye to eye on everything, but we've learned to communicate what we need a little bit better to each other by working through it.
I like that. Sam, you've got a wry smile on your face like you just found some extra chapstick in your pocket. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. No chapstick in the pockets, unfortunately. But no, I mean,
my lips are really chapped.
Yeah. Actually, now
real bad.
My lips might actually be a little bit chapped. No, I've had this conversation before, right? Because like you guys have talked about, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's understandable. She's with the kids all day, especially when our son was younger. And then, I'm at work. She just assumes that, well, you're not having to deal with these things that are very stressful all day. So when you come home, hey, I need a break. Like, here's the kid. You're fresh, from your day or whatever. But understandably, it's like, well, I'm coming off my day. I kind of need to decompress too, because work is not like the best thing in the world.
You're not clicking your heels.
Yeah.
Singing Hi Diddly Dee.
Yeah. I think what we've both come to realize is, like, parenting itself is 100% of the day. Like 24 hours a day, we're both parenting.
Nonstop. Yeah.
But there's the difference where if she's not working and I am working, during my working hours, I'm doing my work and I can't really be there to parent. Whereas she, per se, like, my parenting is working, where she can actually do the things that, like, aren't really parenting, which is like the household chores that just need to get done, just generally speaking. And then when I get home, we can still, like, just focus on, at that point, just the parenting. So at that point, her day is technically over. My day is technically over, and we can both transition to parenting, which doesn't involve preparing. Like, good example of this, my wife usually prepares dinner during the day, and then she, like, cooks it. It doesn't take her long to cook it at night for the evening, but that's already done. So, like, by the time I get home, it's one of those things where the dinner's not ready and on the table, but she's already done all the prep that she needs to do for that. So her day is done essentially. And so we can both focus on just the parenting aspect. And so it's worked for us. Obviously, different points of our lives where she's worked she's actually worked full time, and I've been in this like schooling program, which is very awesome. And my work life has been a lot less stressful, although I've been making a majority of the income still. We've transitioned where I've done like a majority of the chores. Like I don't know how to say if I cooked dinner, but I've gotten Sam's Club meals and I've heated them up in the oven.
Hey,
so,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
And so my wife is an awesome cook. I just never really got into that. So, but there's been points where like I've just taken a little bit more of that chores load, and that's okay. Like I was okay with it. She was okay with switching back. It doesn't work anymore, and we're okay with that.
Yeah,
because she enjoys not working and doing all the other stuff. So, yeah,
I like that. So, coming back to Dr. Hanks, what kind of responsibility does she have? Because I mean, she is a licensed marriage and family therapist, although I like to call her the licensed marriage and feminist therapist. She is licensed. She does have, what kind of responsibility is there if she's creating articles and social media content with that name, Dr. Julie Diazevedo? It's not like, some kind of uh personal blog or anything like that. It's under her professional title. What kind of responsibility is there if she's actively pitting spouses against each other? Because I mean, I look at that. That's all this content is doing, and that's why I it's poison for your marriage. It's terrible because she is starting to seed. She's giving questions to ask to these women that are reading this, because the women that are reading this, are they going to be mentally ill or sane? Probably mentally ill. They're going to skew that side. And so they're probably reading this and they're probably just texting their mom the whole time, like, Ma, I was right. Oh, how he is a pig. He doesn't do anything around the house. And then she's reading these articles, feeling justified in that. Because as a therapist, she's coming out there saying, like, your husband's the problem. He's the problem. You're doing a majority of the work, and that needs to be recognized from the pulpit on Sundays for some reason. What are your thoughts? What kind of accountability is there? What kind of responsibility does she have?
Yeah, well, like you said, it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing. And honestly, if you start keeping tally of what each other does during the day, that is not healthy. And it's
No.
never
you
going
might
to
not actually like what you see.
Yeah, it's never going to be equal. Like those things are
never
going they're going to be flexible, they're going to move, and at different points in your life, you're just setting yourself up for failure if you start to just I'm going to start marking down every time, blah blah.
Oh, I got him this
Look,
time. Yeah.
look,
One for
look,
me.
I got
One
you,
for him.
right?
Yeah.
Because like I was having this discussion with my wife about division of labor. Like as when she was home with the kids, she did like Sam said, you do a lot of the housework. Now we both work. Our kids are all in high school or out of the house. Like I cook. We both do laundry. My wife does a bulk majority of the deep cleaning in the house because I just suck at it. Sorry.
Or you just don't like to do it.
But
look at that.
I don't like to do
incompetence. Look at that.
Yeah, but I love cooking. I do a bulk majority of the outside work, but my wife helps me with that. And she hates doing that,
Yeah.
So it's like there are these things that we naturally tend to gravitate to also because we're better or we do
Just
well
don't
at
hate
some
it
of those
as
things.
much.
We like to do those
Yeah.
things. Some things are a necessity of life and you just have to do them.
Yeah.
But if you start just keeping tally is going to set your marriage up for failure, and it is just bad.
Well, look at the framing that she's offering.
Yeah.
Like this warped perception, this warped reality that she lives in. She's got these feminist goggles on that hates children. They hate happy families. They're sitting up the top of Mount Crumpet going hate, 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 and they cannot stand it. And so this is what they're doing. They're saying, all right, the framing of this is children are labor. Children equals labor. It's like, well, yeah, effort is involved to raise children, but she's, instead of framing it as like you guys are parenting, or you are raising the next generation. She's saying you're doing more of the technical labor. The mental load of the house is on your shoulders, and just pointing out all of the unpleasantries of raising the next generation without giving any kind of credit to the other side of that argument of like, well, you're actually going to be more impactful in the minds and personalities and characters of your children. You are shaping society to come. Dad's working. He's going to make sure that you have everything you need to do that. But you're going to be shaping society here. So this is that's kind of where I take issue, is that in a lot of minds of LDS women that are reading this, they are now beginning to become even more dissatisfied with their role as mother. And they're saying, I need to get in the office. That's where true fulfillment is. The Wells Fargo building surrounded by spreadsheets. That is where I am going to find ultimate fulfillment. That is the mega boss. I will reach the zenith of my creation in the Wells Fargo building with coworkers who can't tell the difference between me working and me dead, which is a callback to an episode I did. There's actually a lady who died in a Wells Fargo building. This was
I remember that
5 years ago. She was undiscovered for like 4 days because nobody actually knew that she was dead. They smelled her and they're like, oh man, I think there's a bad pipe in here or something. And then somebody eventually went back by and was like, hey, Janice. And Janice didn't respond, or whatever her name was. But I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know that that's the place. I don't know. So before we continue any further, because Julie, I believe she has dug too greedily and too deep, that she awoke something in the internet, and we're going to watch it. I have a treat for everyone here, because she has awoken something that you cannot put back into that box that everyone is going to have to deal with. It is a reckoning. But before we get there, For the Strength of Dads, this Thursday, come out 6:15 p.m. Mountain Time. We have none other than Logan Blizzard, a certified therapist who is going to do anonymous, an AMA. So you can come. There's an anonymous form in the Discord. You can fill that out. Any problems that you're having in your life, any struggles, and you can come and just sit in on the chat, and he's going to read through those and give you tools to help you process and everything like that. That's strengthofdads.com, strengthofdads.com, and that's completely free. We're trying to help dads out there to take it up a notch, and to keep going, keep fighting, keep hanging in there. We talk faith, family, finance. We share memes. It's a great time in there. Strengthofdads.com. All right. So without further ado, let me tell you, actually, I'm going to share my screen on this one. That's how magnificent this is. I am going to show you the beast that Julie Hanks has woken from the depths of the internet. And every time I have seen this, it has sent shivers down my spine. Granny Bibbins has a word to say, and she is going to start unleashing on Julie Hanks. Okay. Egg on my face. She says, I'm going to say something that nobody can say anymore.
Motherhood ain't a burden. It's a privilege. And some of y'all treat it like it's in the way of your life. Honey, that is your life. Raising kids, building a home, showing up every single day. That ain't settling. That's purpose. Some of you all want applause for doing the bare minimum, but don't want to take pride in the one thing that actually matters. There's nothing small about raising good humans. So stop acting like it's less than. Start treating it like the job it is. I'm going to say something nobody wants.
Look at that. Granny Bibbins coming around, just smacking Julie right upside the head. Boom. Look at that. Oh, man.
Amen. Amen.
It was it's hip. It's now. It's wow. First reactions when you hear something like that. Straight out of Granny Bibbins' mouth.
Banger.
I've been saying it. It's true. It's true. Like, think about any old female actress, right? That perhaps had like a 5-year career in being an actor or an actress or whatever. Like,
right.
no one's talking about them. No one's going to care when they die. Like, no one cares that they're old now, but who does care is their family members. The people that they like brought up in the world. Those are the people that actually care about you. And oftentimes it's not because of your worldly acting career, or like you said, like working at Wells Fargo, right? Gosh.
Right. Yeah,
I don't pity that person.
Stay away
who
from
lives
there.
that life.
Yeah. I don't know that they paid her for those 4 days that she was undiscovered. I don't know. That's the real question of that.
It's one of those things, like, you're gonna be remembered for, like, those experiences that you have with your loved ones. Like, it's a sad world to live in, that, and unfortunately it's becoming more of the case as people don't have kids, where it's like,
yeah.
I think they're starting to realize a little bit too late that, man, looking around, like, yeah, my friends are dying off and I have no one to really care about me anymore. And unfortunately, even parents with kids nowadays, it's the unfortunateness of, I guess, just society, where people don't take care of their parents anymore. But yeah,
Right. No, I like what you're saying. And one of the things that came to my mind as Granny Bibbins was spitting facts like bullets over there.
Is her last name Bibbins? For real?
I hope it is. But that was her tag. That's Granny
okay.
Bibbins, at Granny Bibbins on Instagram. Be sure to check her out.
She's
subscribe.
got tons of good stuff. Yeah.
Does she?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She can set you straight. Words of wisdom from Granny Bibbins. All right. There's a woman who's done life the right way. She's come out the other side. She's seeing what's going on. There's viral content that is telling women that they're being exploited by their husbands for free labor, and that Granny Bibbins is coming out and she's saying, "Oh, sweetheart, this is what you signed up for. This is your life. Enjoy it." And it's so refreshing to hear that side of it, because for years, I think we have suffered the feminist propaganda for so many decades now, ever since I was a kid. It's just like, hey, get out of the house, get into college, get your degree. And I'm not coming out against education, but the whole, you don't need a man, you can just kind of do your own thing, blah, 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 blah. At a certain point, women wake up and they realize, like, I've been sold something that isn't true. I don't like where this has led me. I have not considered the path of my feet. Granny Bibbins, she's at the end of that race. She has gone down that path and she's saying, follow this path. This is the right path of your feet. Julie hasn't finished her race. She started spouting all this stuff when she had a healthy, happy family. Where is she now? She's back on Tinder. That's where she is. She's trying to find a boyfriend at the age of like 65. It's like, holy smoke, I don't want to be there. I don't want to have a recurring appointment with my plastic surgeon just so that I can keep up on Tinder. Judas, what are we doing? Anyway, Granny Bibbins, be sure to check her out. But there's another narrative that we are going to debunk tonight, and that is that women are doing, on average, 200% more work around the house because their husbands are forcing them to. Okay. And so we are going to 200% more. This is from the science, the data. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, when you said the whole "I don't need a man" thing, it just reminded me of a conversation I had with my oldest daughter, because we were talking about men and women's roles, and she's like, "Of course I need a man. I can't even open the pickle jar by myself. So of course I'm going to get married." So either I'm starting them, like, the patriarchy is filling their brains early, and or she recognizes that, yeah, maybe there are some things that I probably need men for in my life. Opening the pickle jar for me.
It's just an interesting concept, because it's like, who actually wants to mow the grass? Like, some men actually do like mowing the grass and like lawn care. I will say that, but like, who wants to change the oil on your car? If I could afford to have somebody do my laundry for me and clean my house, which there are services, maid services that aren't very expensive, and then also order meals that I had to pop in the oven and take out, okay, mission accomplished. Now I don't need the other spouse because I already have that covered.
Right.
But it's like,
there.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know that's the message. There, right? That's the message. You don't need.
There it is. You're on a segue right now. I'm calling you Joe Bluth again.
You can bring your car to Take 5 to get your oil changed. Right?
Look at that.
You can pump your own gas, but
gasp.
Yeah, it's just.
So this is from an account. This is Chris Willix, and they are talking about why women do more housework than men. So we are going to get right into that.
Do disproportionately a lot more housework and cleaning and everything. It's something that will build so much false resentment among women. And here's the thing. It's not because their husbands are forcing them to. It's because their personal standards are higher. Women are like, well, if we didn't exist, who would organize all the parties for the men? And who would put the doilies on their tables? And who would wash their sheets every week? And the men are like, wait, I thought you just wash sheets like once a year. It's lower standards. And women feel like they have to. I all around the house, I'm cleaning up and I'm grumbling. And my husband is literally like,
to the stay-at-home dad.
is it going to make you sick? No, then leave it there.
And the way we know it's a preference difference is because if you look at single men and women of the same age in the same race, and you look who live alone, and you look at their time spent on housework, those matched controls, those women already do 200% more housework.
Women do
Ooh, okay. So coming at you live with another takedown of the facts. So turns out that the whole you're doing more housework because your husband expects you to do that housework. We just you can call me Adam because I just busted that myth, okay? And I'll call one of you Jamie, and we played Mythbusters on that one. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. The men, it sounds like, do not care as much about the cleanliness levels around the house. Shocker, another shocker. I know a lot of you are probably gripping your pacemakers right now, like, oh, what did he say? No, we all know this. Like, yeah, men can live on anything. I remember on my mission, like we had like a pipe sticking out of the wall for our shower, and it would just kind of run whatever water, and there was like mold that would grow in like the rooms that would just be coated in mold, and I just didn't go in those rooms. I was like, hey, no harm, no foul. I don't have to worry about that because in a few months I'm going to be charted right out of here. So, but men and women, they're incredibly different when it comes to their standards of cleanliness. So what we're seeing over here is that maybe the husband isn't like the taskmaster over there saying, do more of my housework. Maybe the wife is just setting too high of a mental standard and frustrated that she cannot hit that standard every single day. And the husband's just like, sweetheart, what's the matter? The kids are happy and healthy. I'm happy and healthy. What's going on? We can be happy. She's like, no, I gotta clean everything. What are your thoughts on this finding about women having higher level of cleanliness and leading to more dysfunction in the relationship?
So I had two thoughts. The first thought I had watching that was, is this a young Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Because that's what she looked like to me.
I was olive oil from Popeye.
Oh,
right?
that works too.
Wow, live action. Yeah.
So that was my first thought.
Loud and clear.
But my second thought was, I actually think my wife and I, our standards for cleanliness are pretty close to the same. I'm like, we both like very decluttered, very clean house. But
yeah,
I can think of one example. My wife's standard for folding the towels, if I don't fold the towels right, they don't fit in the closet correctly. So, I mean, there are different standards for the way things are done. There are different standards. The towels have to be folded a certain way to fit in the drawer, to fit in the closet. And I'm just like, boom, boom, boom. It doesn't look as pretty in the closet, but it's in there. So yeah, maybe my standard there is a little bit different, but as far as cleanliness goes, like my wife and I have a fairly standard. Yeah, we're pretty close. We have pretty high level of cleanliness in our home.
Look at that. So the invisible labor narrative, that narrative, if we're considering the path of our feet, that narrative is saying that women do more because men expect them to do more. What this is telling us is that women are doing more because they want to do more, because they have a higher standard than the men in their lives. And so they're getting resentful and they're building up a lot of anger and resentment towards their spouse because they're trying to hit this standard that they may not share, because going back to communication, if this is a young family, they may not share that same standard quite yet. Like I'm right there with you. My wife and I, we share probably, if you ever seen Monk, like, the OCD detective, That's kind of how my house is. I was raised a clean boy. All right. My mom made us vacuum the house 3 times a day when I was a kid. so like we raised, so my wife, she was tickled pink because like doing household chores and stuff like that. I was like, sweetheart, I got you covered. Her standard had to come up to my standard. Don't tell her I said that. But people come over to our house and they're like, what is this? I've never seen a house this clean. It's like, there's a reason for that. Anyway, so I'm saying what we're seeing here is that there's different standards, and maybe couples, maybe it's not that husbands are out there just beating their wives saying, you got to do more. This is a pigsty. This is terrible. This is awful. Maybe it's more of a case of maybe the wife is hint dropping and getting frustrated because she wants the husband to pick up on these clues and say like, I want you to be proactive about how you can help. That whole music about every day is Father's Day. It started off with her saying like, even if you've asking me how to help, even me sitting down and writing you a to-do list is putting me behind the wheel. And I don't want that. So I look at that. It's like, well, you can't win for losing in that kind of a household. But that's another case of mind reading. So the husband, he's getting in, probably getting screamed at from his manager, having to deal with some inter-office dynamics. He's making sure that she's got the house, the vacuum and all that. He's coming home. He's just like, okay, what can I do? And she's just like, how dare you, you pig. And so it's just communicating, saying, all right, maybe we sit down, we communicate. What do we expect? How can we do that? Is that reasonable? And is that fair? And coming back to the family proclamation, making sure that mothers and fathers are parenting as equal as we can be. And I know Julie Hanks loves that. I know, but factoring in the amount of load that the husband is taking on and where he's at and what he's able to do, and not just saying you need to be at my standard or you are a failure, or I am entitled to divorce you via Julie Hanks divorce service speedway and get out of this relationship because you're not meeting my standard. Okay, I got to read this. Okay, my wife just joined the chat. She said, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, sweetheart. There we go. All right, so the final thought right here. There is another video that I wanted to point out as we're wrapping this up. This has been a tapestry tonight, and I wanted to weave a lot of these threads together. Here's another. This is the final thread that we are going to weave that hopefully can put this argument to bed and help couples realize the scam and the myth that they are being sold by one peddler known as Dr. Azevedo, who is saying, hey, children, come over here. Take this argument and this worldview and give it to all your family members and friends. And if they ever need a therapist, let them know who to call. All right, let me share my screen. And here we go, right there. This is from a divorce attorney. This is Spencer Divorce Consulting, is where you can find him on Instagram. And he talks about mental load is a scam. So let's see why mental load is a scam.
A complete scam. And before anyone loses it, no, I'm not saying the work isn't real. Somebody in every house carries it. The appointments, the birthdays, the groceries, the invisible to-do list running in the background. And honestly, there's probably something biological to it. A lot of women genuinely are more wired to track all of it. Fine, I'll give you that. Here's the scam. It's the weaponizing. Paige Turner almost divorced her husband over the mental load and got millions of views. Then came the buzzwords, weaponized incompetence, the default parent, 100 creators racing to put a clinical name on your marriage. And the move is always the same. Handle everything. Then announce you handled everything and that it's so hard. Like no one in the house is carrying a thing. But the load runs both ways. While she's tracking the calendar, he's lying awake doing the math on whether the money lasts the month. He's the one absorbing the pressure nobody sees, making the calls nobody thanks him for. Different load, same weight. That's the part that's so unfair. Not that she carries something real, she does. It's that only one side of it gets a name, a hashtag, and a standing ovation. I watched this for 25 years. The mental load doesn't end marriages. The story she's been sold about it, that it makes her a victim instead of a partner, that's what does. She carries a real load, so does he. The scam is pretending only one of them counts. Mental load is a complete scam.
There we go. I wanted him to say it one more time just for emphasis. Right there. Mental load is a complete scam. So he's not saying that that the work behind any of that is a scam. Mothers and fathers are doing a lot of work here. The scam is the marketing behind all of this, is that only one side of this is being marketed and only one side of this is allowed to speak. And that's usually the side of the mothers. And why is it being marketed? Well, we're considering the path of our feet tonight. So let me give you a couple of two bits right here. We got a therapist coming out here marketing this. Why? She's trying to fill up her pipeline. At the end of the day, she is trying to seed contention between spouses. She's trying to pit one against the other. Why would she do that? Well, that's good business for her. She's trying to gin up business at the end of the day. Isn't that wild? We have licensed therapists out there.
Yeah, she creates
creating
this
feminist.
solves, essentially.
She does.
Yeah.
So she's pointing out all these problems. She's like, this is a problem, huge problem. I'm going to point this problem. And if you want the solution, paywall, massive paywall, either coaching or through therapy. And so you can unlock the solution. I'll give it to you. Ta-da, here we go. But the whole idea that men do not carry a mental load of their own is just baloney. And that's what I want to talk to you guys tonight. Where is the mental load for men? Have you seen that? How has that impacted you? We'll start with Jeff, and then we'll go to Sam.
Yeah. Well, I would just say to Dr. Azevedo, sorry, she's not Hanks, she's Azevedo.
Azevedo, yeah.
Stop pathologizing everything. Life happens. Like these are things that are part of life. Let's stop calling everything a pathology. Like these are normal things that you have to deal with if you are in a relationship with someone. It's not always a pathological thing. Like just put that out there. And sorry, go back to what your question was with men. I just think the mental load is, am I providing well enough for my family? Am I being a good enough role model for my children? Am I teaching them life skills so they can just be good humans, not necessarily disciples of Jesus Christ, but that's a part of it, but just being good citizens and humans. Am I teaching them skills so that way when they're out on their own and something goes wrong, they can deal with it and they can troubleshoot it? Those are things that I think about. Am I providing for the future of my family? Am I setting myself up that when we can retire and we can be well off, that we're not going to have to worry about someone else taking care of us? I mean, these are things that I think about. Now, in my family, my wife handles most of the finances. She's better with math than I am. I hate math. It's probably why I write, because I hate
You're
math.
not alone.
So she does that, the bulk majority of it. But I still think about, like, am I providing what my family needs? Regardless of what job that I'm in, am I providing for the now and in the future of my children? That's kind of the mental load that goes through my mind, while trying to maintain my own discipleship and carry that just like a wife would. Like you're carrying your own things. You're trying to. If my job is to provide and protect, which I take very seriously, that's what I'm thinking about. Is my family provided for and protected?
Totally. Sam, what are your thoughts?
I mean, a lot of the same things, right? But like, I think one of my main focuses is like Jeff was saying, like retirement. Where am I going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now? And I hope that that's only somewhat my burden, right? Of course, I counsel with my wife over like, where are we going to be in 10 years from now? Like, what am I going to do after I retire from the military? are we just going to actually retire, or am I going to get another job? And but that, along with my somewhat unique case of like my wife not actually being active, so I do have to like somewhat carry her half of it as well in that aspect. And I can see how that would be difficult for women if their husband's not active, like, because I live it. Like, I actually, you know, the person who wakes up to get them ready for church is me. Otherwise they don't go to church. Thankfully I have saints for kids, right? Like, they're always on time. They're not they don't like go crazy in the pews. Cause I see it in other pews. I'm like, I don't know how you guys deal with that stuff, but they're great. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those extra things that I have to like worry about. And I'm certain my wife has burdens too, things that she worries about. They're just different.
Yeah. So every piece of content that we saw tonight that was coming from the other side of that argument, they all presented their content selectively. So they were all cherry picking. They did not present the entire picture. The entire picture looks very different. It looks a lot more like the family, where both partners are coming to the table, both are struggling. It does not. So the content of like every day is Father's Day, and you know, the catchy songs and the Azevedo posts and all that, they're saying fathers have it way easier, fathers have it way better. And Granny Bibbins is smacking us around. There's divorce lawyers coming out. We're not the same, but that's okay. Men are carrying a mental load as well. I would say exactly what you guys have said. It's heavy. It's a lot of worry about finances. It's a lot of worry about like, well, how are my children doing? Do they need anything? How's my wife doing? Is she happy with the amount of money that I'm making? And if not, how can I improve that? And so it's a lot of load like that. Like, especially if you see your kids wearing outdated clothes, or maybe if they're walking around and your wife starts complaining about finances and stuff like that, it's like, okay, that adds. It's like, all right, well, I got to step it up. I got to make more money. That's stressful as well, you know? And so it's a lot of that. But in addition to your calling, being the spiritual leader of the house, and it's like, okay, am I teaching my kids? Am I spending enough time with my kids? And then you're balancing work, and you're making sure, like, are my relationships at work really good? Am I solid, and am I stable there so that I can keep bringing in the money and making everything else work? Am I being a good husband? Am I serving? Am I calling well? Am I doing everything else? And am I looking out for myself as well? Am I taking care of myself? So, I mean, a lot of the same loads. And this is why I love talking about this around Father's Day. There's a key argument that gets made across ward councils when it comes to Father's Day. There's about one Sunday where the Father's Day plan is made, contrasted to Mother's Day, which is about 4 or 5 months of agonizing, going back and forth, trying to figure out what's going on. The Father's Day, this is what happens. The Relief Society president or primary president usually comes in. They say, all right, what do the men want? And then usually the elders quorum president, whoever has the grayest hair in the room, starts saying, oh, men are simple creatures and we do not need anything more than root beer. And then everyone says, okay, yeah, that's great. And so then it's a post-church root beer that gets passed out. And it's sad. I've seen it happen all across America. I get notifications about this on Father's Day, where a lot of wards, they kind of just drop the ball. They're like, well, men are simple creatures, and that's okay. And that's part of this whole ugly narrative over here, where it's like, no, men have complicated lives as well. We just don't talk about it as much. And because if we do, then Eve might start worrying. You know, Adam is trying to find joy, and Eve is worrying. And so if we start talking about the ugly things, then Eve starts worrying too much, and she starts panicking. And that makes Adam's life harder. And so that's why men don't talk about it as much. And so we see the same pattern in ward councils where they're like, hey, what if we did X, Y, and Z for the men? And then if you pitch it over to the men in the room, they will all say, no, that's too much. I'm sorry. We don't need that much. We're okay. We're all good. So you have to just take the reins. If you want a good Father's Day celebration, the women just need to say, we've got it planned. Don't worry about it. Don't put it on the men, or else they'll just say, just dusty root beer, expired, dusty, warm root beer that the kids will end up taking because the men don't want them. So that's kind of the takeaway here. is that let's consider the path of the feet of all of these arguments. One is going to lead to division. One's going to lead to becoming a mental accountant where you're constantly nitpicking your spouse. You're looking, okay, they did this and I did that and they did this. And let me tally this up and how many brownie points and how does that translate into equity in this household, you know, and who has more power and authority. And that's an ugly place. Nobody wants to be there. The other is just leaning into your strengths, leaning on each other and saying, communicating clearly what you can and can't do, and then being appreciative for the other spouse. And say, all right, let's make the best. You know, we don't know if we can do it, but let's give it a shot, give it your best shot, and go down that path. I think that is the takeaway for me when it comes to all of this. But any final thoughts before we head out?
I would just say take it from the old married man and just communicate what you want, communicate what you expect, communicate what you need, and life will be so much simpler. Like, just communicate.
Totally. Communication. Also, in that vein, I would say propaganda. We've been propagandized for decades with kind of feminism and all this whole narrative. That's why like brethren are just checking out en masse, you know, like every day is Father's Day. And then the husband in that, he's just like staring quietly at a bottle of Xanax, just like, okay, I can keep going. I'm okay. So that's the reality a lot of men are facing these days. Suicide is the number 2 killer among men. So if we're going to change that, we're going to have to change the messaging that we're putting out and the propaganda that we're putting out there. I'm right behind Granny Bibbins. Let's get Granny Bibbins. Let's just get her content as viral as we can and just start producing pro-family propaganda so that we can turn the tides and help people realize that ultimate fulfillment is found within the family. Sam, any final thoughts from you?
No, I don't have anything.
You got it. Look at that. You didn't consider my mental load. How dare you?
It's high. It's high.
I'm clutching my pearls over here. Awesome.
I'm a simple man. Like, hey, don't do anything on Father's Day, but I'm consistent. Don't do anything on Mother's Day either. That's
it is. That's consistent.
We didn't really.
I've never mentioned that in ward council. Of course, I've always been like, hey, let's do this for the mothers. But like, I think when I say in ward council, like, hey, let's not do anything for the fathers, it's because that's actually how I want things to happen entirely. Like, I don't think we should be doing all this extra stuff. But
look at that. Those are the two camps you get on.
Just
like,
need to be
there's the one camp like, no, we shouldn't celebrate families or roles or anything like that. No, well, let's just get them away. They can do that at home. I'm over
Sam
here
hates
saying
the family. That's what I heard.
Yeah. The other camp is like
ripping the family proclamation.
That's your own problem.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Then the other side of the camp, there's another camp that's like, hey, maybe the church should reinforce roles and we should be promoting motherhood and fatherhood. I personally line more in that camp. I line up there where because I think going back to propaganda, I think youth need to hear that more now than ever before because there are so many messages out there saying like, hey, you don't have to do anything. You don't need responsibility. You can go be an actor, you know, and just always, you know, disregard your conscience and live on Pleasure Island, the theater for you. Ha ha. You know, and then that leads them to a dark place where if we promote roles and we say, hey, lean into these roles, they're going to guide you. They'll steer you through life and they'll help you figure out who you are. I think that actually helps the younger generation out. But I'm right there. I'm kind of in that second camp. So I will say, if ward councils out there, if you don't know what to do the exact same thing for both. So be consistent. So if you do something big for mothers, so if Mother's Day, you're giving the mothers the second hour off and you're doing a big spread, do the same thing for fathers. And then children grow up realizing, hey, we treat men and women equally in this church, you know, partnership, equal part. Hey, there we go. But if boys and men grow up seeing like mothers get this huge banquet and fathers get like a dusty can of root beer passed after church after they do their calling, they're going to start scratching their chin going like, oh, man, I don't think they really like men here. What's the matter? This is crazy. So anyway, that is my advice. I did say, to end on a positive note, I did get a ton of messages yesterday, yeah, from a ton of brethren that their awards knocked it right out of the park. I had one brother from St. George who had an entire jerky spread. So he actually got bowls of jerky, and the men walked by, and then they had like cheese and fruit, and so they picked up that, and they set up round tables, and they gave the men the second hour off. I was like, holy smokes, that's fantastic.
Arguably more expensive than probably the women got in the award.
Probably, yeah, could be. But I was like, dang, look at that. So I saw that there were a bunch of other great examples of awards just killing it, just showing their youth that fathers matter. And I think that's something that we should definitely say. All right, well, until next time, Jeff, where can people find you, and what are you doing, my man?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Jeff Borders Books, and that's probably the best place to follow for book updates. The newest book is gone into layout. I don't have a cover yet, and I don't have a release date, but I know they're working on layout. And so if you want updates plus other fun things that I post about helping teens and helping parents with teens navigate life and spirituality and faith, you can find me on Instagram at Jeff Borders Books.
Awesome. And then we have Sam St. Laurent. He is a familiar face on the internet. You'll see him popping up here and there all around the place. And until next time, my name is Hayden Holm. This is Salty Saints. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to subscribe so we can reach even more dads and get this message out there to let them know, hey, you're not alone. Put down that bottle of Xanax. Come out to thestrengthofdads.com. We'll share some memes and we'll laugh so we don't cry. But until next time, we will catch you guys later.